Girls! We don't run the world.
You say that as if you are one united political front with the objective of running the world. I don't think any gender, ethnic minority, or sexual preference has a group that works in such a fashion. So yeah, you don't run the world. Men don't really either.
But would things be better if we did?
Debatable.
Women make up half the world's population, but only 22% of the world's governments. Really?
Have you considered the fact that women are different to men and may not have really a vested interest in politics? I mean, a more interesting statistic would be how many people are involved in politics at all in comparison to the total population. Probably quite a low number, because politics is toxic.
Here in the US, we don't even hit that. When it comes to women in Congress, we rank 73rd in the world, lower than Kenya, Namibia, and Ecuador.
But higher than Qatar. And Qatar is the country that funds this channel, and Qatar routinely lashes women for cheating on their husbands, and kills them sometimes for the same crime. It also considers a woman's testimony as half that of a man, so you need two women to testify against a man. So, I mean, I don't know why this channel is pushing this at all.
So why does it matter that women lead anyway? Well, besides the fact that we are the bearers of life...
That is completely irrelevant. Women give birth to kids. Yes, it's important for society, but, it doesn't really, affect politics, does it?
Women lawmakers bring something different, and sometimes better, to the table.
So do men. And I think actually everyone, regardless of gender or anything related to that, is quite capable of bringing something different and sometimes better to the table. Again, irrelevant.
According to a study of the U.S. House of Representatives, in a 20-year period, women sponsored more bills and attracted more co-sponsors to their bills than men. Those bills got more press attention and survived longer in the legislative process, too. Women also raised more money for their home districts than men. Get it, girls?
Once again, this is just showing, because of the lesser interest in the population of women when it comes to politics, that the ones who do get interested are incredibly passionate and therefore powerful when it does come to politics. You should be happy. This is actually really good for women.
So what happens when women rule? Let's look at a country that ranks #1 in women lawmakers. Nope, it's not Finland. It's not Norway. It's Rwanda. After the 1994 genocide that left around 1 million dead, the remaining population was 70% women. Facing a huge power vacuum in government, women stepped up, ran for office, and got it done. They passed common sense laws allowing women to own property and open their own bank accounts. And they focused on laws protecting children and women. Since 2000, the child mortality rate has plummeted, and life expectancy went up by 16 years.
A very good example of a country being shocked by a genocide into becoming a much better place to live. Quite a good example. But what you're about to say after shows the problem with what you're pushing.
They also established a quota that at least 30% of Rwanda parliament has to be women.
And now here's the problem. The good old-fashioned gender quota, the ironically two-way sexist device. It suggests that women aren't capable in politics, so need to be shoehorned in via a backdoor system that makes them able to compete with men, and it also suggests that men can't represent women, and vice versa. If I was to be represented by a woman in parliament or government in any country, I would be happy if they were representing me correctly, and I'm quite sure women would be quite happy with a man representing them properly as well. Quotas are archaic and regressive, and they need to go.
Over 100 other countries have some sort of similar quota, including basically all of South America, Europe, and most of Africa.
Qatar. Like, seriously, you're funded by one of the worst countries in the world to be a woman. There are no women in the Qatari government, and the Qatari law, as I stated earlier, is completely against women. The hypocrisy in this is mind-boggling.
Sweden's party quotas were established back in the 70s, and that country is now revered as one of the best places to be a woman.
I'm not so sure that Sweden is a good place to be a woman. With the amount of rape and other sexual violence growing in Sweden at the moment, I'm not so sure.
With paid maternity leave and one of the smallest gender pay gaps in the world.
The gender pay gap is irrelevant. It doesn't, check for different job types and life choices. It only checks the money and its numbers. And the fact of the matter is, it is simply illegal in most countries to be paid a different amount for the same job as a man. It's nonsense. It's just women aren't interested, much like with politics, in going into these jobs. Because quite wisely, they want time for themselves away from the toxicity of the workplace, whereas a man is more willing to push himself fruitlessly in the hunt for more money. It's quite simple.
But having more women leaders isn't necessarily a cure-all pill for sexism, and it doesn't mean that those countries have more, say, reproductive rights.
Again, what the hell does reproduction have to do with women in politics? Nothing. Nothing at all.
Argentina, Brazil, and Chile have all had female presidents, and abortion is still illegal. Bolivia rates second for women in government, but still, female politicians there are routinely subjected to harassment and violence.
Alright, first of all, this is only proof that having a woman in government is not a guarantee for women's rights. And second of all, what harassment and violence, and by whom? You're not being very specific here. Is it because they are women? Are they being targeted by other men in the government? You're not really saying anything here.
Even in progressive Seattle, Washington.
Yes, those are exactly the words I wanted to hear. Progressive. You mean regressive, right?
The majority-woman city council was inundated with sexist and violent hate mail after they voted down a mega sports arena.
End yourself is not sexist. Perhaps violent in its suggestion, but it's not sexist. Anyone could have said this. And perhaps they weren't doing a good job of representing their people who wanted an NBA plan to go ahead. It's not that hard.
It goes beyond politics, though. Studies show companies that have more gender equity perform better than those without it.
Can you show said studies? Like, please? You can't just get away with saying things without sources.
And female bosses create work environments that are more flexible and open to employee feedback.
Again, can you please provide a source for this? I'm very intrigued in seeing this. But I doubt it's true because I can easily see a man being capable of this as well.
Of course, not every woman is guaranteed to lead in the same way. And more than just quotas, a lot has to be done to position women for these roles in the first place.
So you're basically saying that your whole point was moot, but you're going to push for quotas and affirmative action anyway, which are inherently sexist to both sexes, and everything you've said is meaningless. I mean, it was meaningless anyway, because you're making these videos with Qatari money, which is the equivalent of a drug cartel in Mexico paying a channel to, speak out against using drugs in other countries. It's fucking stupid. No, I've had enough of this. No, I can't deal with this anymore. No.